Can start. Start, Mathaji, when you're ready.
Yes, Prabhu, I'm just, yeah. Om Gyantimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanutam Tam Sajivam Savadetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Good morning. Our today's welcome to morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Our verses to read this morning is 3, 13, 19 and 20. I'll start with verse number 19. Yamadutau tada praptau bhimo sarvase sa drishtva drishtaritaya sa Krishna mritum vipnuchati. Word to word. Yamaduto, two messengers of Yamaraj. Tada, at that time. Prapto, arrived. Bhimo, terrible. Sa Rishabha, full of wrath. Ikshano, their eyes. Saha, he. Drishtava, seeing. Drashta, frightened. Hridaya, his heart. Shakrisht, stool. Mutram, urine. Vipnuchati, he passes. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. At death, he sees the messengers of the Lord of Death come before him, their eyes full of wrath, and in great fear he passes stool and urine. Purport. There are two kinds of transmigration of a living entity after passing away from the present body. One kind of transmigration is to go to the controller of sinful activities, who is known as Yamaraj, and the other is to go to the higher planets up to Vaikuntha. Here, Lord Kapila describes how persons engaged in activities of sense gratification to maintain a family are treated by the messengers of Yamraj, called Yamdutas. At the time of death, the Yamdutas become the custodians of those persons who have strongly gratified their senses. They take charge of the dying man and take him to the planet where Yamaraj resides. The conditions the conditions there are described in the following verses. Verse number 20. Yatana deha vrittaya peshair vagale balat nayato dirgham advanam dandayam rajabhat bhatayatha. Yatana for punishment, dehe his body, avritya covering, pashay with ropes, bandhava binding, kale by the neck, balat by force, nayat they lead, dirgham long, adhavanam distance, dandyam a criminal, Rajbhatah the king's soldiers, yataha as. Translation: as a criminal is arrested for punishment by the constables of the state, a person engaged in criminal sense gratification is similarly arrested by the Yamadutas, who bind him by the neck with strong ropes and cover his subtle body so that he may undergo severe punishment. Purport: every living entity is covered by a subtle and gross body. The subtle body is the covering of mind, ego, intelligence, and consciousness. It is said in the scriptures that the constables of Yamraj cover the subtle body of the culprit and take him to the abode of Yamraj to be punished in a way that he is able to tolerate. He does not die from the punishment because if he died, then who would suffer the punishment? It is not the business of the constables of Yamraj to put one to death. In fact, it is not possible to kill a living entity because factually he is eternal. He simply has to suffer the consequences of his activities of sense gratification. The process of punishment is explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Formerly, the king's men would take a criminal in a boat in the middle of the river. They would dunk him by grasping a bunch of his hair and thrusting him completely underwater. And when he would almost suffocated, the king's constables would take him out of water and allow him to breathe for some time, and then they would again dunk him in the water to suffocate. This sort of punishment is inflicted upon the forgotten soul by Yamraj, as will be described in the following verses. So these verses they describe how a living entity who is engaged in sense gratification is treated after being after leaving this body. And one point that I really like, which is eye-opening, is that a living entity who is engaged in maintaining a family and taking care of the family, just their senses, just his own senses, is also candidate to be punished by the Yamdutas. He or she is also being punished by the Yamdutas. So it's actually very very serious, because the purpose of human life is not to engage in sense gratification. Is the purpose of this human life, which is very rare to achieve this human body, is to engage in the service of the Lord, to understand the purpose of life, to understand who we are, where have we come from, and where we're going to go after this life. That is the real purpose. And who is our master? We are the servants, and who's the master? To understand all this deep science, deep philosophy of Krishna consciousness, that's the purpose of achieving this human body, not to submerge ourselves in just satisfying our senses. If we do that, there's a repercussion, there's a reaction to it, heavy reaction. First, we have to leave this body. Everybody has to leave this body one day or other. But after leaving the body, it's not that we're going to be happy, or like people think one life. People talk about one life. So there's nothing like one life. Yes, one life to use to go back to Godhead, but not one life, not just to enjoy the senses. In sense enjoyment, if we see with our experience, we experience that sense enjoyment after some time results in frustration even in this life. So we have experience that sense enjoyment never gives happiness. It ends up in frustration, some big problem, something major happens after we gratify our senses. But so what's going to happen after we leave this body? There's series of punishments that we have to go through depending on what kind of activity, sinful activity we are engaged in. So Srila Prabhupada, in order to save the living entities, save this human civilization, he has made these 4 regulative principles. He had made this the society of Krishna consciousness. And the 4 regulative principles are no meat eating, no intoxication, no indulging in illicit relationships, and no gambling. So these four principles, the whole society is living upon. Everybody is in this country, but in particular, is engaged in meat eating. Every single person, like even to the babies, the mothers here, they dissolve the meat powder in the water, and they feed the meat powder to the small infants, the babies. So meat eating is being done day and night here, and like most of the people are engaged in that. And intoxication, everybody is engaged in intoxication. Illicit relationship, they have a hard time maintaining one relationship, one marriage, 10 marriages, 60 marriages. There's no end of marriages, and still they are not satisfied, not happy. So like that, and gambling. So like that, the entire society is engaged in these 4 kind of sinful activities. And if we understand that, if we deeply understand that there's no happiness in indulging ourselves in these 4 kind of activities, then we understand that that there is a higher purpose of this life. First, we need to submit ourselves to follow these four regulative principles nicely, the way Srila Prabhupada wanted us to follow. And then we can understand the higher science. Then we can understand who we are. What is the purpose? We are the living entities. We are the spirit soul. And the purpose of spirit soul is to understand the Supreme Soul, is to submit to the Supreme Soul, is to serve the Supreme Soul. So that's the purpose of this human life. And engaging our senses is considered like a criminal offense. Bhagavatam gives such wonderful examples. And Srila Prabhupada also, like in the purport, he gives the example of one type of punishment, that how a person who in Chaitanya Charitamrita it's mentioned that a person in previous times, they if he would have committed some mistake, some offense, the king's constables would take him in a boat in a river and grab him from a bunch of hair and then put him into the water, drown him for some time, then pull him out, drown him again, pull him out. So that was kind of punishment people used to get to give them a picture of great suffering. Suffocating somebody means not giving them air, not giving them their life air. So that was kind of punishment people used to get, really severe punishment. And there are many varieties of punishment mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, how the Yamadutas punish people, different people with different activities. Let's see what Prabhupada says in the previous verse. Yeah, these topics are really like intense, and so I was thinking that being like following Srila Prabhupada, our duty is to protect ourselves from these sinful activities, and also to help protecting the society by giving this knowledge of Krishna consciousness, by expanding this Sankirtan movement. Yesterday I was hearing a class by Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was mentioning this, that sometimes I doubt also about it, that only this process of Krishna consciousness will save people in this society, in this community, in this world. This is the only process that's going to work. So, and I always wonder why only this process, because every other processes are not working anymore. They are not meant for this kind of lifestyle that we are leading. People need to first come to the platform of becoming human beings, start following four regulative principles. That's when somebody becomes a human being. And then take shelter of the holy names of the Lord, a process which is given by Lord Chaitanya. So if we ourselves are fully convinced that this is the only process to save everyone, whether he's an American, Indian, Chinese, Russian, whatever, this is the only process which is going to save the society, then we will. Then if we are ourselves convinced, then we should help others to take this knowledge and help them progress on this path of Krishna consciousness. And this way our life will be successful, their life will be successful. And this is kind of the job Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual masters, they also want us to do, is to preach. This is a preaching movement, a missionary movement. So if we all come together and help ourselves and help the society in preaching, it'll save the world. So I'll stop here. If there's any corrections, comment, questions, we can discuss. I apologize, I wasn't well prepared for this class. I just read and I just expressed whatever my thoughts were. Any comment anybody has?
I was thinking that how the verse that we sing every morning, Sangsara-dava nalalita-loka tranaya karunya ghana ghanatvam, that from these fearful material existence, the fires, as it's being described, the fire of material existence, the only refuge is the ghana ghanatvam, is the showers, the rain mercy of the devotees. So the taking shelter of the devotee and serving the devotee can alleviate or help us sidetrack or help us bypass these material sufferings, these material, you could say, these challenges or fearful situations. And that's true, isn't it? That how the spiritual master, the devotees, they are protecting us from this world. And they're also, like you mentioned, they're also pulling people out from this material existence.
Thank you, Prabhu. I was thinking that this whole society is based on fear. Everybody is fearful, and the only way to get out of the fear is to take shelter of somebody who's fearless. Abhay Charana Ravind. The Krishna is fearless. So holding the lotus feet of Krishna, holding the lotus feet of a pure devotee, being in association, right association of devotees, we also become fearless. That's the only way. Otherwise, this every day there's one new fear. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Especially these days with our new administration, it's like every day is fearful. People don't know where they're going. So life is very unpredictable. So there's no way to save ourselves other than taking shelter, eagerly asking Krishna for his shelter, and engaging in the chanting, sincere chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Anything else?
Hare Krishna Devimurti Mataji. Such
Hare
a
Krishna.
nice class. You said you were not prepared, but thank you for taking us back to the basics, the four regulative principles, and how chanting and uh, serving the devotees. I mean, all of that is so important. And while this society and it's all, there's so much fear, but yet we forget, when just as things seem to be going okay, as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada says that when you're banging your head and then for a little while it's kind of okay, again, at least I see, become complacent and take it easy. So, yeah, at least in this month of Kartik, hopefully some mercy will come where I will take this seriously. So, but thank you so much, Mataji. Such a nice class.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Mataji. Okay. So maybe we can end the call here. Thank you all the devotees for joining this morning. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.